Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Thursday, September 10th, 2025. We're well into fall in Calgary. I want to thank you for joining us for our third webinar this year. The first webinar was on right-sizing your business. The second webinar was a conversation on DEI and is it dead or is there an opportunity for your business to capitalize on it? And this third webinar is an exciting one that I think is relevant for all businesses. It's really about compensation and trying to determine your appropriate formula. This is really intended for small to medium-sized businesses that, don't want to invest in building a really robust compensation structure, but it's really focused on looking at different options to help you move forward. So some general housekeeping. I just want to make sure everybody's camera is off, that your microphone is on mute. We are going to use the chat to ask questions. So if you have a question, put it in the chat. Or we will also have a Q&A period at the end of the webinar. So if you have questions or just want to have a general discussion about some experience that you've had, you can wait till the end of the webinar after we've delivered the information, and then we can tackle it. We have a lot of information to get through. I'm going to shoot for about 30 to 45 minutes of content presentation, so that we have time at the end to share some time together. So let me start by telling you a little bit about us. So for those of you that haven't been on our webinars before, this is Synergy HR Consulting. So we're here to help small businesses build great workplaces. We're a team of senior HR professionals dedicated to helping you build your best workplace. Our sweet spot is really delivering fractional HR solutions into businesses with 20 to 200 employees. And what I mean by that is really digging in and partnering with businesses to take care of all the people, issues, and initiatives. We can do everything from recruiting your best team through a fractional recruitment solution or through a retained search solution, to onboarding your team members, helping you manage them throughout their employee life cycle, helping you exit employees, dealing with difficult medical situations, dealing with litigation, employee issues as the life cycle goes on. Our team has over 150 years of senior HR experience on it. We really tackle everything from, the day-to-day transactional HR initiatives to the really big strategic initiatives. We can even facilitate your strategic planning. So super excited about that. So fractional solutions are not unique. They're not new. So no matter how big your business is or how many employees you have, it's prudent to look at the possibility of using a fractional solution if you don't already have an in-house HR solution. A fractional solution will give you access to an entire team like the one at Synergy for a fraction of the price. So if you're about a 50 employee business and you're looking at some big, maybe seismic growth, or you've got some transition happening in your workplace and you think maybe it's time for an HR person, I would challenge you to consider a fractional solution. So you can get all the good things that come along with having an in-house HR team for a fraction of the price. And so when we do fractional solutions, we partner deeply with our clients. We get to know your business. We work remotely, we work on site. We basically customize all of our solutions. Some of the additional stuff we do is we do everything, like I said, from providing a fractional recruitment solution, which is a bucket of hours, to strategic planning, to custom and package training. We do leadership program development. We do leadership assessments. We do a ton of compensation analysis and executive compensation. We even build compensation programs, succession planning, organizational development and change, anything that has to do with managing your workplace and creating a great employee experience, we can help you with. So in January 2023, we evolved slightly. So maybe a little bit ahead of the AI game, not quite in front of it. But we decided to enter the tech world and actually built a platform called frankhr.io. Some of you have been on it, some of you haven't. If you're interested in checking it out, you can drop me a note in the chat or send me an email, and I'd be happy to send you a free access code so you can take a look at it. So Frank HR is our proprietary employee management software, and it really is what I would call a mini HRIS system with built-in workflows designed for small businesses in Canada, saving you time, saving you money, and mitigating your risk. Frank HR is really known for its simplicity, and it's designed for people who aren't HR pros, and it's set up and easy to use. It's a piece of cake, and it's designed to push you along the HR best practices road through integrated workflows. So if you're curious, let me know. Happy to give you an introduction. Frank HR is really simple technology that does the doing and thinking for you. Fully functional inside a small business, can replace a 0.5 FTE HR admin person. So now you're thinking, here comes smart technology for HR. Well, you're exactly right. I'm not going to call it AI because, quite frankly, it isn't. And I've watched Terminator 3, and it scares me a lot. I also don't believe that you can take the human out of human resources. But what we can do is give you the tools, resources, and support you need to be a rock star in your own workplace today. So that's a little bit about us. I'm the CEO and founder of both Synergy HR and Frank HR. I am your navigator today on this journey talking about compensation, and I'm super excited about it. Let's get started. Okay, let's talk about total compensation, finding the right mix for your business. It's a hot topic, not just right now, but always. Getting the mix right is really important for your business, and it'll help you in many, many different ways. So what you will learn today is, first, you will learn why the conversation is so important. Why is it important to talk about compensation, total compensation, and total rewards? We're going to talk a little bit about what the difference is between a total compensation conversation and a total rewards program. The nuances are real. We're going to understand the key elements of total compensation, so what makes up that total compensation package. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what makes up the total rewards package, because they're slightly different. We're going to explore the compensation tools and vehicles that your employees might value today. And we're going to talk about some of the out of the box solutions for giving employees a really great and engaging experience. Finally, we're going to understand your compensation placement in the marketplace and why it's so important to look at that. And we're going to wrap it up with a discussion around the best practices related to creating a total compensation and total rewards philosophy, and putting those together in a solution that makes sense for your business. Okay, so what's the big deal? So why is talking about compensation so important? So many small to medium-sized businesses are competing with larger firms on base salary, but missing the bigger picture, how the total package is perceived and delivered to their employees. Claims about competitive pay aren't enough. Candidates and employees care about benefits, development, flexibility, and a coherent career path. When these elements aren't aligned, you see longer vacancies, higher recruiting costs, and higher turnover, which erodes margins. At the end of the day, the big deal is, if you want to have a healthy business, it's important to strike the right paradigm with your compensation mix. So let's have a conversation about compensation and understand a little better why it's so important. So here's some really meaty statistics for you that I think will be a little bit alarming. One, 71% of workers want to leave their jobs in the next 12 months. That means that 71% of workers are going to quit and go look for a new job. 74% of employees are less than satisfied with their current salary. That's a scary metric. That means that 3/4 of your staff are thinking maybe they can make more money somewhere else. 53% of workers in Canada have negative feelings about work. So call it the Monday doldrums or whatever, but they're waking up going, I don't want to go to work today. 81% of Canadian professionals are on the hunt for a new opportunity, and 83% of those say that total compensation is a major factor in their decision making. Companies with structured total comp programs report a 20 to 30% less turnover overall. So these total comp programs are creating a positive conversation in the workplace. And then finally, companies who talk about their total comp see a 10 to 15% increase in new hire acceptance and boost in engagement scores. So what I mean by that is the companies that make an effort in their recruitment process, in their onboarding process, in their performance management process to talk about compensation and how it will be impacted over time, see an increase in new hire acceptance and a boosted engagement, which means that people are in a position of understanding. So why is this important today? So first and foremost, talent attraction and retention in a tight labor market. So in many regions, skilled roles are in high demand, while unemployment remains relatively low. So candidates are scrutinizing not just salary, but the total value they receive from engaging with you. Total compensation packages influence candidate decisions just as much as base pay. More often than not, we see younger generations going, I want more vacation time and I'd forego some salary to more time off. Employers who present a clear and competitive total comp story win more applicants and hire faster. It's more cost effective and profitable. A well-structured total comp strategy helps control long-term labor costs by aligning incentives with performance, reducing turnover costs, so recruitment, onboarding, and training, and avoiding overpaying on roles where the full value exchange isn't clear. 3, employee engagement, productivity, and risk management. Employees who understand the full value of their compensation tend to be more engaged. Clarity reduces anxiety around pay, boosts morale, and improves retention. The conversation around total compensation mitigates risk to turnover. So transparent total comp practices improve trust and reduce turnover risk in volatile times. And number 5, proactively managing inflation and cost of living realities through your total comp program. What we know is that inflation erodes the real value of pay. So $1 today may not be worth $1 a week from now. If base salaries aren't contextualized within the broader total compensation package, meaning that if you aren't saying, hey, you don't just get base pay, but you get these benefits and you get these bonuses and you get this flexible time and you get to be developed as an employee and you get all of these other perks working for us. If you don't contextualize it, employees may feel undercompensated even when nominal salaries rise. Okay, and then 6, this is an important one, long-term cost savings. We know that turnover costs range anywhere from 25 to 200% of an employee's annual salary. So if you can implement a strategy that reduces turnover, there's an immediate and long-term return on your investment. So the total compensation conversation is more important today than ever before. There's only one conversation that trumps it, and that's your total rewards conversation. So what do we really mean when we're talking about total compensation and total rewards? What's the difference between the two? So let's take a quick look at that. So what is total compensation? So total compensation is the monetary value of all direct and indirect pay an employee earns from an employer. So it could include base salary, variable pay, bonuses, commissions, and sometimes it even includes long-term incentives. It could also include benefits with a clear monetary value. So health insurance premiums, a vehicle allowance, retirement plan contributions, anything that you can monetize and calculate into a dollar value. And so total compensation is very focused on money in the pocket, monetary value. There's always a dollar value associated with it. So your base pay might be $60,000 a year, but if you get a vehicle allowance of $12,000 a year, now your cash total compensation is $72,000 a year. So employers and employees should be able to easily calculate an employee's total compensation. How does this differ from total rewards? So total rewards has a broader human-centric framework that encompasses all of the ways an employer recognizes, rewards, and supports an employee. It doesn't just include financial compensation, but also non-monetary elements. Total rewards is about the holistic employee value proposition, and the list is endless. This is where small to medium-sized businesses can really capitalize on capturing the attention of new hires and retaining core talent is by really focusing on these non-monetary benefits that employees are valuing. Let's take a look at the typical total compensation package. So first, it always starts with base. It could be cash earnings, could be hourly, but it's basically the take-home pay that employees put in their pockets after tax. Could include commission. So if you're a salesperson and you have to meet certain targets, your part of your total compensation could include a commission payment. Could be bonuses, discretionary or planned bonuses, profit sharing, signing bonuses, project-based bonuses. These typically include short-term incentive plans and long-term incentive plans. So these would be what we call typically STIP and LTIP. Your total compensation could also include benefits, medical, dental, healthcare spending accounts, flexible spending accounts, and maybe even RSP contributions. And then there's other cash compensation like vehicle allowances, office allowances, phone allowances, equipment allowances, per diems, premiums, call out pay, after hours pay, overtime. And then finally, there's the rewards, the financial kudos, the rewards and recognition that come to employees in the form of cash. Okay, so that's the typical total compensation package. Let's level this up and take a look at what's included in the total rewards package that might be just a little bit beyond this. Time off, say it could be time off with pay, so additional vacation time, unlimited time off without pay, sabbaticals, you name it, just time off. Then we've got flex schedules. So maybe I work from 12 to 8 because I'm not a morning person, or maybe I work my full work week Monday to Thursday, or maybe I get to come in at 10 o'clock because I have to drop my kids off at school and I can work for 2 hours at home. Remote work. So remote work should be considered part of a total rewards package. Remote work is a privilege. It's not an entitlement. So if you have employees that get the opportunity to work not just from a home office, but maybe from an office somewhere in Mexico, that is seriously part of their total rewards package. Training and development. So offering your employees the opportunity to level up their skill out of the company's pocket is totally part of a total rewards program. And then finally, opportunity, the opportunity to grow and learn and work with talented people, the opportunity to grow into leadership positions, the opportunity to try new projects, new technology. These are all non-monetary perks. So hard to put a dollar sign against that. Maybe a little bit, you can put a dollar beside the training and development, but ultimately these would be perks that you would offer your employees that start to increase, I would say, your employee value proposition and the marketing message that you're sending to new candidates. So let's go a little bit deeper and look at some of these elements in a little more detail, and let's talk a little bit about what does each of these kind of look like. Let's take a look at some of these, I call them non-monetary compensatory elements or perks in a little more detail. So time off. So it might be additional vacation time, paid sick time, unlimited leave, leave of absence with pay, sabbatical, job protected leave. There's lots of different really sort of cool nuances that you can build in there that would be attractive to employees that wouldn't necessarily cost the company any more money. One really good example is, look, you work 100% of the time, Kristen, and we'll pay you 80% of your salary. And then in 1 year's time, you can take a block of time off, like maybe 2 months, and we will continue to pay you 80% of your salary. So basically, what you've done is you've taken that 20% of the salary that you're not being paid, and you deferred that payment for your time off so that you end up with a paid, almost like sabbatical. A lot of companies are considering options like giving employees, a one-time, call it a special experience leave, where maybe they want to go to New Zealand and travel to the Shire, and they need 3 months to do that. So they've been working with the company for 5 years. They've demonstrated engagement and added a lot of value to the company. So the company goes, sure, yeah, take that leave. We'll cover your benefits. You're going without pay, and then we'll return you to your job at the end of the day. Another perk would be company tools. So maybe a really hotshot laptop or PPE. So if you pay for someone's work boots that can be expensive, like to $200, or maybe you get them a really nice Carhartt jacket. Company vehicles are very, very popular non-monetary perks, although you can kind of assign a bit of a financial value to it, but ultimately employees really value the company vehicle. Software, so the ability to work with cutting edge software and AI tools is a really big perk nowadays. And we've seen people leave our client spaces to go work with company ABC because they have a different software package that they want to get to know a little bit better. Training and development. So this one's a no-brainer. Give your employees to grow and learn and expand their skill set. So if there is a position in the organization that requires a certain certification, like in our organization, if you want to be a recruiter, it's prudent to get your registered professional recruiter certificate. So we offer that to some people. Flexibility. So flexibility in time, flexibility in project execution, flexibility in your workday, the teams that you work with. So being able to say to an employee, look, here's our core hours. You need to be in the office between 10 and 2 Wednesday, Thursday every week. And then the rest of it, you can work remotely or you can create your own hours. We're happy to do that so long as you're keeping an eye on outcomes. That's a big perk. Next one, opportunity for career growth, climbing the ladder, opportunity to try new projects, to try new positions in the organization. Family, culture, camaraderie, the social aspect of work can be a very important aspect of someone's total compensation. I hear over and over again, oh, I really like this company. I like the people that I work for. It's much harder for an employee to quit a company where they really like the people they're working with to go to an unknown. So that can be a huge, powerful asset in your business. And this is all around culture building. And then fun. Have a fun place to work, and people are going to feel good about getting up Monday morning, and they're not going to want to leave. Wellness planning. Some employees really value this. So this notion of having counseling support services, wellness breaks, mental health supports, yoga in the workplace. We've had some companies or clients that have cafeterias where they serve nutritious food. Some of that stuff is highly valued. An on-site gym, huge perk. Childcare. So some companies offer childcare in the building. So imagine being a new parent and having to drop off your 1-year-old at the daycare, but being able to take your lunch hour and go down and spend some time with them. That's very, very valuable, especially for parents that are returning to work after a parental leave. Parking. Calgary, parking is expensive. I'm sure it's expensive in most of the metropolitan areas, but I would say parking in Calgary probably runs between $500 and $800 a month. You could consider that as part of a total compensation package because you can typically put a monetary value on it, but being able to offer parking to employees is a huge perk in Calgary in particular. And then cafeteria, we talked about that already. Volunteerism. So this is a kind of a new one. This is where the company attaches itself to some sort of social purpose, like lunches for kids at schools, and you as an employee get to contribute paid. The company pays you to volunteer for these certain initiatives. So one of the companies that my husband used to work for did volunteer work at the zoo. And so he spent one morning cleaning poop out of the zebra enclosure. But it was a super fun outdoor activity to do. And he could say, I volunteered at the zoo. ESG strategy. So this is environment, social strategy, and governance strategy. And so this is really about purpose and meaning. So what does your company stand for? So companies like Patagonia and Tesla have nailed these ESG strategies, and people will come and work for those companies because they believe in the ultimate purpose of the company. So it's a very, very powerful tool, particularly very powerful for younger generations that are looking for purpose-driven organizations to work in. Sentiment. This is strange, but if your employees perceive or feel like you care about them, they're probably going to stay. And so it's a really great retention strategy. And you shouldn't fake this. Don't fake sentiment. But if you have good sentiment inside your business that makes people feel like they're cared about, that's a huge sort of very non-monetary component of your total rewards package. And then leadership, the opportunity to be a leader, but also leadership that's really good at mentoring, coaching, and teaching people, and is inspirational and motivates people. Leaders that people want to work for are huge factors in retention and attraction of talent in your business. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are a ton of other non-monetary perks that you could probably think of, like Halloween parties, Christmas parties, any sort of, celebratory events, awards and recognition. Sometimes your company reputation is all that is needed to attract talent. So we've seen this over and over again, where people want to go work for a company like Benevity, for instance, because they have a good reputation. So there's lots of ways that you can sort of design this total rewards program, and it makes sense for you to go back as a leader in your business and ask yourself, what is it we are offering our employees? What is the total rewards package that our employees value at the end of the day? And so here's a tip. If you're not sure what really motivates your employees, ask them. Be careful when you ask them that you're not setting expectations, but ask them what motivates them. And so when we do employee engagement surveys, we will often ask a compensation question, and the compensation question will have a drop down. Pick your top 10 compensatory elements. What are the things that you value the most when it comes to your total rewards program? And so we're not creating an expectation paradigm there, but we are mining information from employees. So you can conduct an internal or a third-party engagement survey and ask your employees what really matters to them. We do engagement surveys all the time. You can also take it one step further and create a program, a total rewards program that can be customized for your employees. So if one person values cash in their pocket more than time off, then maybe you offer them a higher salary and less paid time off. The alternative is that maybe one employee is very risk adverse and they don't want incentive-based compensation, they just want a base salary. So maybe their base salary is high and their bonus structure is low. And then you can also have employees in the business that have a lower base salary and higher incentive-based compensation. So you can play with it a bit. Okay, let's shake it up a bit. Let's talk about you versus the market. So you being your company versus the market and knowing where you stand relative to the market. So we do at Synergy a ton of compensation analysis. So regular market-driven compensation review is important for several interconnected reasons. At Synergy, we do full team compensation analysis, and we also do executive compensation analysis. And so when we do compensation analysis, we start with marking the positions using a 3 data point weighted average, looking at maybe industry, geography, and business size. We also look at competitive forces. So where is your talent? If they're leading you, where are they going? So it may not be that they're going to the same industry. With companies that don't have a compensation philosophy or a program, we compare all of the positions and all of the people to the 50th percentile. And when we do that, and we've completed our analysis, we're able to identify employees that are red and green circled. So the red circled ones would be like way above the market 50th percentile, and green circled employees would be below the 50th percentile. And that doesn't mean that everybody should be at the 50th. It means that, depending on skills, tenure with the organization, experience, someone might sit above or be below your targeted 50th percentile. Okay, so compensation analysis is really the evaluation of your pay and benefits to ensure your salaries, incentives, and other forms of compensation are fair, competitive, and aligned with the organization's goals and your industry standards. Okay. So why is it important to do compensation analysis? Well, compensation analysis will help you understand your placement with respect to the market and can give you a huge competitive advantage. So first of all, it's going to help you attract talent. So competitive offers, job offers, help you win top candidates in a tight labor market. So if you can offer more per hour or monthly or on an annual basis, you're more likely to win the candidate. That's a no-brainer. So the market benchmarking signals that your pay is aligned with what other similar roles are earning. So reducing the risk of losing offers to competitors. And what I mean by that is when we take a position, call it a sales position or whatever you like, and we benchmark it to the industry, what we're basically saying is the industry is paying this at the 50th percentile or the median, the middle of the market. And so you need to get kind of competitive around that market benchmarking. Understanding where you sit within the market can help you retain employees. So employees expect fair and competitive pay. So regular reviews of your compensation help prevent pay erosion and disengagement. Okay, so you always hear of the company that hasn't given raises in the last 3 years. That can be really destructive, particularly when the economy is distressed or when the cost of living is going up. So remember, I talked about the cost of living eroding the value of your pay. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So market-aligned compensation supports morale and perceived value of work, reducing voluntary turnover. And number 3, visibility and equity. So doing regular market analysis, so comparing your compensation regularly to the market, will help you align internal pay with external benchmarks, promoting a pay transparency and equity model. So employees can go out to the market, take a look at whatever Glassdoor or PayScale is paying, and feel confident that they're being paid well by you because you've done the same thing. It helps identify and correct internal pay gaps, and helps also mitigate risk of disengagement or any legal risk that might become associated with pay inequities, particularly between different genders. Doing a market analysis also creates business financial health. So budget predictability and financial health. It enables better budgeting by tying compensation to market benchmarks and business performance. And it prevents overspending on salaries or underinvestment in critical roles, balancing cost with capability. Another really good reason, performance and focus. And what I mean by that is market data provides a benchmark frame for performance-based increases, ensuring that differentiation for high performers. So high performers might make at the 75th percentile, average performers at the 50th, and lower performers at the 25th. And it supports a structured progression path. So merit promotions aligned with market realities. So when you get that market data that says, for position A, this is the 25th, 50th, and 75th percentile, you automatically get a market-driven pay band for that particular role in that region based on the weighted averages. Doing regular compensation analysis allows you to do really great strategic workforce planning and helps forecast hiring needs, drives compensation bands, helps you create career ladders aligned with business strategy. And it facilitates internal mobility by clarifying what it takes to move between roles or levels. So we often, when we're looking at project management roles, we'll see a project management 1 and a project management 2 and a project management 3. So the employee can automatically see the progression. Like if I'm making $60,000 and I want to be making $100,000, I've got to progress through these bands from project management 1 to 2 to 3. And then 7, compliance and risk management. So it reduces legal and reputational risk from pay discrimination and non-compliance with pay equity laws. So it demonstrates a due diligence-based process that regulators, so the government and investors and employees might ask for. So if you're doing regular pay compensation and an employee comes to you and says, how come Sally makes more than me? Then you have the data to support that conversation. So employer branding as well. So consistently paying market competitive salaries enhances your employee value proposition. So when you're going to market to look for talent, you can say, we pay the best on the market, or we're leading the market, or we pay the 75th percentile. It prevents publicized pay discrepancies that could hurt the brand and recruitment. And what I mean by that is you don't want your employees going to Glassdoor and saying, company XYZ only pays the 25th percentile, don't go to work there, right? So I think you need to be a little bit aware of what exiting employees are saying about your compensation as well. So let's get into a little bit of a discussion around compensation best practices. And now that we have a great understanding what a good compensation review can have, and you understand that there are many ways to compensate your employees, let's look at some of the best practices. And let's be clear, getting it right matters. But there are some cautionary notes here. So I think that I'm going to highlight those as we move through the next few points. And remember, compensation just isn't about cash in your employee's pocket. It can be about the intangible and sometimes hard to quantify benefits like time off, purpose, a great team to work with, great projects, technology, tools, you name it. So let's talk a little bit about best practices when it comes to total comp and total rewards, and then discuss how you might implement changes to your compensation paradigm. So first and foremost, have a plan. Build a compensation philosophy so that you can clearly communicate what it is you pay and how you pay. So this is what we're going to say to the public when we're looking to hire new people. This is what we're going to say to our employees. And so I have 2 examples here. The first example is this is a conversation you can have with new hires. We start all new hires at minimum wage for the first 500 hours. If you're still with us and doing a great job, we'll bump you to $18 an hour. And from there, your hourly rate will be increased by $2 an hour for every additional 1,000 hours you work, for a maximum of $25 an hour. So that's a great pay philosophy for an hourly rated employee. So recently, my daughter was working for a company doing some landscaping. And she had a very, very clear compensation policy. So she knew when she did this type A work, she was getting paid this much. And if she did type B work, she was getting paid this much. And so she always enjoyed those days where she was doing type B work because she would make $2 more an hour when she was doing that. So that knowledge and that transparency, the compensation program was very good. So let's take another look at a different example. So we pay our new employees at the 50th percentile to market to start and provide a 5% increase on the successful completion of your first 180 days. That's the first 3 months. After that, we have a regular annual salary review process, which takes place on each individual's anniversary date. So that's a decent compensation philosophy that gives the employee some expectation of when their salary is going to be reviewed. Doesn't tell them how much they're going to pay. The 50th percentile to market indicates is a loose commitment for the company to go out and do the market research so that they understand where the 58th percentile is. So even though you haven't said we regularly go to market and look at salaries, you're making a loose commitment to it in a statement. So be careful what you're committing to, but it's a great compensation philosophy. Okay, point number 2, document your plan. Share your total compensation and total rewards program details with your team so everyone is on the same page. Okay, so we at Synergy love building compensation programs, and a compensation program is a tool that we would give to a company that they can then share with their leadership team. It creates consistency and alignment across the leadership team when they're having discussions around compensation or when they're changing compensation. And it's also a tool that you can share with your employees so they clearly understand how they get a bonus, or what is their bonus related to, or what kind of behaviors have some sort of monetary compensation. So your plan should include a very clearly articulated philosophy. It should include salary grids if you have them, doesn't have to. It should have a comprehensive list and a description of all your compensatory elements, even the ones that don't have monetary value. And it should have clear timelines and accountabilities. And what I mean by that is it should be very clear who has the authority to deliver a pay raise, or who employees should be talking to about compensation questions. And there should be timelines in there, such as the ones particularly around bonus structures. It's like year-end bonuses will be delivered in May of the following year, that sort of thing. And we usually do that because, you know, we're getting the financial results audited before we deliver bonus structures and stuff like that. So we have a lot of really great frameworks that we can work within to help you develop a really customized and special compensation for your business if you're interested. Number 3, create a one-pager. I love this. A one-page individual compensation summary for each employee in your business that you can share with them on an annual basis. So I love this idea. I love the idea of every employee coming home with almost like, call it a pay report card. And so this would be, a one-page document that would outline base salary, vacation entitlement, RSP contributions, benefits entitlement, vehicle allowances, everything that's related to that person's pay. So you go back to your compensation program and create almost a table, and put beside each marker on the table what the employee's compensation is in that regard. And so, for instance, if they are partaking in a flexible work schedule, you can outline that on your one pager as well. And the cool thing about this document is that it preempts any conversation you might be blindsided by regarding compensation. So we've all had those employees that come up and go, hey, I'd really like a pay raise, or I haven't had a pay raise in a long time. This one pager delivered on an annual basis as expected will not shut down those conversations, but make them really easy and fluid. Best practice number 4, review your plan on an annual basis. So compare your plan to relevant market data on an annual basis and make appropriate adjustments. So we go into a lot of businesses and we do these massive, huge compensation reviews. And ultimately, that's great once in a while. But inside these businesses where we do these big reviews, they might call us back next year or the year after and say, hey, can you update this data? And those follow-up reviews are much simpler to do because we've already benchmarked all the positions. And sometimes all we're doing is aging the data with the cost of living increase. So it's very easy for us to update the data that the clients already have. So you don't have to go out and buy new salary data every single time you do a review. Sometimes it's a matter of aging it, and it's very simplistic. But investing in that first upfront review is definitely worthwhile. And then number 5, best practice, make changes intentionally and with caution. And the sideline is follow legislation, get help and advice, and make sure you have the data to back up your decisions. Your employees will not be on board with all of your changes, okay? So when we went through the pandemic, we saw employers reducing take-home pay by 20%. In most circumstances, anything more than 10% reduction in base compensation is grounds for constructive dismissal, and you can be sued. So be careful when you're taking things away from your employees. Be thoughtful and make sure you're doing what is, number 1, right for your business, and number 2, sustainable. It's hard to take things back once you've given them to your employees. And 3, make sure whatever you're doing has value. If possible, value to your employees. So what I mean is, if you want to implement flexible work schedules, that's fantastic. First of all, does it work for your business? Does it work for all the positions in your business? Does it work for all of the people in your business? 2, is it sustainable? Can you have 10 people on flexible work schedules and still have successful business operations? 3, does it have value? Do your employees really care about that? Is it something that's going to check a box for them or make them feel cared for? At the end of the day, if they don't value it, don't invest in it. So I have a couple of hints and tips for you before you leave the webinar today about total compensation and total reward. First of all, don't let your employees start the conversation for you. Make sure you start the conversation first. You want to be prepared with data and information and have the answers. We've all been blindsided by employees asking for raises. And if you don't have the data or the program or the structure to support a conversation, it's a hard conversation to have, and you're usually making it up as you go. Second, don't overbuild your compensation plan. Be clear on what you are offering in terms of a total rewards package. It is very hard to take something away. So if you create a flexible work program and then 3 months down the road, you decide it's not working and you take it away, even if people aren't using it, it will be perceived as a negative. Third, be careful when asking for input. Input or surveys can create expectations, and expectations need to be managed. So using a survey expert or an HR team to help you put together a survey that manages the creation of expectations is really critical. If you just went out to your employees and said, hey, would you like an RRSP matching program? 90% of your employees are going to say yes. And 3 weeks down the road, when it's not implemented, they're going to start to get miffed. Okay, so be careful when you're asking for input. 4, think outside the box. Purpose matters to these younger generations, but people need to pay their bills too. So cash is still king. So when you're crafting your total rewards program, make sure your cash compensation is on point, and then be creative about the other non-compensatory elements that you're putting in your employees' hands. And then number 5, don't break your cash compensation paradigm. Okay, people talk. Be fair, equitable, and aligned with the market. What I mean is this. So if you create a compensation philosophy that says that employees start at the 50th percentile, and then you meet somebody on the street that would be a great addition to your team, but they want the 75th percentile, don't do it. You are stepping outside of your principles and your practice that you've publicized to your company, and it will create problems. And then finally, know where you can flex. What can you offer other than cash? Okay, so maybe I want the 75th percentile, but what I would really love instead is 2 extra weeks paid vacation. So if you can get away with paying me the 50th percentile, but change my vacation entitlement, that might be worth taking a look at. So that's the end of the presentation. I think we gave you enough information to get your brain thinking a little bit about total compensation versus total rewards. And hopefully we've opened your eyes up a little bit to what the opportunities are and giving you some hints and tips around making changes in your organization. We're going to move to the Q&A, and I'm going to shut the presentation down. But before I do that, I want to let you know that we're more than happy to connect with you at any time to talk about compensation, how it might fit in your business, executive compensation, board compensation, compensation analysis, and compensation programming at any time. Please do not hesitate to give us a call or reach out to us by email and ask us more questions. I'm just going to shut the presentation now and go to the open chat forum Q&A. Thanks for your time.